All right, so welcome to CIGO-UK in the yard. They come and visit with us about once every quarter, and we are very happy to have them here with us to tell us what they've been up to, and also to give us a little more information about what they do here in the UK as an extension of the Cayman Islands government. So I'm Rita Stevanovic with Cayman Connection, and we have with us today Dr. Tasha Ebanks Garcia, who is the Cayman Islands Government Representative in the UK. Dr. Tasha, welcome to the yard.
Thank you. This is probably my second time in the yard, so I'm very happy to be back and happy that this time I got to, I'm joined by some members of my team. And Charles is trying to get in. He's writing to me saying that he's trouble getting in the yard, but hopefully he will be, keep an eye out for him. He should be coming in shortly, Rita.
Sounds good. Will do. So tell us a little bit, before we get officially started, Dr. Tasha, tell us how things have been since the last time that you came to the yard. Has it been a whirlwind?
So it's been different. So the last time I was here, I actually wasn't in the UK yet. The last time that I had an opportunity to share. And so since then, my family and I have moved to the UK. We've settled in here and had the opportunity to work with the team, not just kind of remotely and virtually, but in person. And it's been really a great opportunity, but also an opportunity to engage in activities representing the government in the UK. And, you know, we've recently had a ministerial visit and lots of different activities and engagements that are happening here that I've had the privilege of participating in. So I've loved it. And you know, people kept saying, you know, that, you know, apologies for the weather and you know, I guess the weather is a big point of contact, point of conversation here in the UK, but I can say so far I have loved the weather. I haven't had a day that I haven't loved. So we'll see. I'm still waiting for the day that I won't love the weather, but so far it's been quite enjoyable for me.
It's my understanding, having only moved here in 2019, that the UK has seen some of the mildest weather, you know, ever. Well, I'm not saying that there haven't been some, you know, erratic weather patterns here and there, but everyone has said to me, oh, you should have been here a few years ago. You would have gone back home immediately. So I think we're just, and I see some heads shaking. I think we're quite fortunate. You know, we eased in, we're easing in at a time when well, climate change is making things a little different, and it's not the traditional UK weather that everyone had been warning us about. So Tom was also saying here, winter super mild. I was like, if this is winter, I'll take it. I love it. So I agree with you, but I got to knock on wood because I don't know how long it'll last. We may very well be trying to get home for Christmas season next year. Who knows? Well, thank you for that. And we're glad that you're here with us now. It sounds like lots on the plate and lots to do. I wanted to now find out a little bit more about your staff. What's your staff complement like? Who's who in the office? Who does what? I know Gabriella is on with us now, and you have many other members in the office. Maybe not many, but you have a few other hands that are taking on many roles, I should say, in the office. There we go.
That's it. So a small number, a powerhouse, small number of individuals taking on a relatively large task. So there's Charles, my deputy, who says he's still trying to get in. I don't know, Rita, if you've seen him. He's trying to make it in. So there's Charles, my deputy, and his key area of focus is to take the lead on consular services. So we will talk a little bit about what that means. And then we've got Philippa, who is our assistant representative, and she's got responsibility for some policy areas, for international relations, as well as operations. So she is really key to our business functioning, in that she's responsible for areas of our business like human resources and finance, kind of the heart of what keeps us going. But also she has environment as a policy area of focus, and the environment is a key area of focus for our office. Certainly, you know, this year with what we can do with what's left of this year, but going into next year, that's going to be an area that we really want to hone in on and focus on over in the UK. And we also have Melanie Ebanks. Oh, Charles is there. Charles got in.
Thank you.
We also have Melanie Ebanks is with the office, and she supports Charles in the area of counselor services, and has also had the opportunity to support us in some other areas, including some policy areas, as well as the delivery of some projects and coordinating some of our events. And we have Gabriela Castillo, who is an intern with us. And Gabby was with me before I left home in the cabinet office. She was an intern there, and she impressed me so that when I was coming over to the UK for school and asked, can I continue to work with the government? It was a resounding yes, absolutely. Of course, we would love to have you. And she's been doing an amazing job supporting us over here. She's with us a couple of days a week, doing some work, and I'll let her share kind of what it is she does with us. So Charles, I introduced you to say that you are my deputy, but and that your key primary lead is in counselor services, but I haven't shared with them what that means. So if you want to share a little bit about what you do, because I mean, that's particularly for students and families here, that's an area that may be an area of need for you at some point, and kind of knowing what services and how we're able to support you may be helpful as you navigate some of the challenging waters of living, going to school, working overseas.
Consular service. How long is this session?
How long do you have? You
Yeah.
can go all night. No, it's an hour. It is an hour.
No,
Sometimes members stay on a little longer.
yeah, I'm just kind of joking about it, but consular services covers such a wide area of our remit that I could be here all night explaining to you guys what consular services is all about. I think Tasha kind of capped it off in a outline way, because a lot of what we do is supporting our Caymanian stakeholders, and probably I would say 50–60% of that is students needing assistance in various forms, whether it's helping them with a passport application, getting their student visa sorted out, dealing with their home fees and getting to the bottom of what they're eligible for and all that kind of stuff. A lot of students, and you guys know that we have a few hundred students over here now, so we're constantly getting a lot of calls from students, more and more these days. But we also have a lot of other areas in consular services. Just recently we had a ministerial visit. It's probably a separate area, but it also comes under our provision of consular services, because we have a ministerial visit and they come over to our side of the world. The ball is in our court to make sure everything goes well for them. And that includes a lot of logistics, but it also includes a lot of support in other areas. Like Dr. Tasha would have last week, she had to attend lots of meetings with the minister, collectively with him and also individually. So a lot of areas of consular services. Like I said, I could go on and on and on and on about consular services, because on the one hand, we have lots of things that we do on a regular basis. And on the other hand, to keep my job from being totally exciting, there's lots of things that pop up that you have no precedent for, that you have to think on your feet or think outside the box to get done. And quite often you set a precedent for this kind of thing in the future. So there's one thing I can't say about my job, and I cannot say that it's boring. It's a very, very exciting job.
That's a blessing.
Doing it at a time, and you would think that after maybe I've been doing this now probably over 20 years, you would think that you get the hang of it. But like I said, something will pop up, maybe the same question with just a little caveat, and then you have to come think outside the box and get that problem solved for that particular person who is making that inquiry. Yeah, so like I said, I could go on and on and on, but that's kind of an outline of what provision of consular services mean for us.
Thank you for that. You have to be very in the moment, right? Really in the moment.
You really do have to be in the moment, and one skill that I try to impart on people who I train up and try to get up to speed on things is that one of the most important things about consular services is listening. listening really careful to what people are saying and what people are asking for and the tune they're asking it for. And sometimes you're being distracted by other things that are happening all around you, and you try to listen to what people are saying. So quite often you have to ask them, just send me an email, follow up with an email, and let me have the full detail of what I can do to assist you. And that is really helpful, because you know that when you respond by an email, you have time to analyze what is being asked on the one hand, and on the other hand, you have time to really know that you're answering completely correctly. So there's lots of little techniques you learn over the years, and you never really get the hang of it, because, like I said, there's so many different things that can pop up, but there's certain rules to apply that make your job, pretty accurate.
Well, it's also wonderful to have someone who's spent as much time as you have in the Cayman Islands Government Office. I think that is definitely a plus for the office and for people dealing with you. So very nice to hear about some of what you do. I know that's just the tip of the iceberg.
You're totally right. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, I do take a lot of pride in providing service in general. Consular services, we can put that in a kind of a box, like, right? We can say, okay, that just covers all of this stuff, but just providing service for Caymanians and Caymanian stakeholders. I do take a lot of pride in that. I think at heart, from way back when, from then I was a young boy, I think I realized that I gain a lot of gratitude from helping people. Just providing service for people, making sure that their lives are easier and they go along their way happy about getting things resolved for them. That makes my life kind of enjoyable. Yeah. So needless to say, a London office is probably the right place for me with that kind of mindset.
You found your calling.
I think so, yes, I think so.
Well, that's good. I'm sure some of our members will be in touch with you shortly.
I believe that, yeah.
I wondered, Dr. Tasha, also,
and I do welcome any, because we're a bit short-handed now, and we have to kind of, prioritize and tick the box as things come along. But we will get things sorted. We'll find a way to get it sorted. Let's put it that way.
Thank you so much, Mr. Parchment. Thank you for that.
You're
Now the wheels are turning in my own mind as well. Might just be able to resolve some things that have come to my attention. Let's put it that way. But I wanted to know, Dr. Tasha, if you would be all right with us hearing a little bit from Gabriela about her involvement in the office.
Yes, please.
Yes?
Absolutely. I'm going to just plug my computer in.
She's been a very, very busy young lady recently, been in the press, and we're very proud of her. I'll say that on behalf of the Cayman Connection members. We don't all know you personally, but we certainly are proud of the work that you've been doing in terms of raising awareness about the environment and climate change. And recently you were in Costa Rica as well, right?
Yes. So in 2015, so a while back now, I was selected to go to a United World College in Costa Rica on a full scholarship. And it was very much like, we did the IB diploma, and it was very much sort of like, I guess, a very holistic education. So we went to school outside, like in the grass, and we all represented a country. So each student, there was about 2 students from every country, and they sent 2 from Cayman, and I was one of them. Absolutely wonderful experience. But that was where I first fell in love with conservation, because my biology teacher was the most intelligent man I'd ever met in the entire world. He could tell you anything about any plant, any animal, any bug, the littlest thing, and he knew it. And he put that passion into all of us. And then during a service week, so you get to pick a project that you work on throughout your 2 years there. I went to La Carpio, so it's the biggest slum in all of Costa Rica, unfortunately, and it has a lot of undocumented people from Nicaragua that live in this area. And because they're undocumented, they don't have access to real housing. So it's just things that they put together for themselves, like with wood and zinc, things like that. And because they're undocumented as well, they don't have access to real running water and things like that. So we essentially taught them how to recycle the like plastic and rubbish things that were in the river that was like passing them right by their homes, so that they could give it to the city and get money back. And then the women would use the money to buy like textiles and make clothes, because a lot of them were very skilled with their hands, so that they could find other ways to like make income, since they weren't able to like apply for jobs and things like that. So that was sort of my first interaction doing something along those lines, and it was amazing. The people were absolutely wonderful. And for me, it was very interesting coming from a place like Cayman, where you never really see anything like that on such a large scale, and you realize how privileged you are and how much you really have. And then when I went to university, I decided that I wanted to study like social problems. So I studied politics and Spanish because I fell in love with Spanish while I was in Costa Rica. And then during my final year of university, during the pandemic, I had a bit of extra time. So I participated in rewriting or writing for the first time the university's in environmental policy. So to get the university's carbon emissions down to net zero, which was wonderful. And so the aim is to get it there by 2023. And as far as I'm aware, they've been quite successful at getting some of the measures down for this year, since this is the first year that it's in practice. And that was Queen Mary, which is also in London. So I've been in London since 2017. Right now, I go to the London School of Economics. I'm doing a master's in public policy and administration. I'm loving it. The course is amazing. The university is, I'm very happy there. And I'm even happier that I get to spend 2 days of the week in the office with Dr. T and the rest of the team. Everyone's so wonderful. They're like my second family. So I do policy and projects work. So that's anything related to policy that comes through the office. I get to lend Dr. T a hand doing things like that. But right now I've been working on just helping with logistics for all of the events and projects that we have going on.
Amazing. I mean, it sounds like you've not had much of a break at all. Sounds like it's been back-to-back commitment.
I get up, my alarm goes off at 6:15 every morning right now. So
well, I have a question here, just based on something that you've just mentioned about going back into the office. It actually comes from Tom. And the question is whether or not staff is physically in the office space, or is everyone working remotely? Because the website actually says that people are still remote working, or is it a combination?
So it's a little bit of both. We're, I guess as with everybody, keeping an eye on the environment around us, and hopefully things continue to remain as they are here, but also being mindful of how individuals feel and their own sense of safety, and ensuring that if we're asking staff to come to work, that we give them an opportunity to kind of share what that might look like in a way that they feel safe. And so we've allowed some flexibility in terms of what time they arrive, so they don't have to come in during rush hour when there's large numbers or the largest numbers of people on public transport, because we're all coming in on public transport. But also because we've really kind of seen the value and really embraced the opportunity to do remote working and the benefits that come from having kind of that balance. So we've still got kind of working on a schedule, but so we're kind of coming in for a couple of days a week and kind of feeling that out and still kind of testing the waters. So the website hasn't been updated yet because it's kind of in part to ensure that people aren't coming and rocking up to our door and there's nobody there. And as we get, I think by the new year, we also have a number of staff members, like Philip is in Cayman right now. Come December, Mel and Charles are both going to be in Cayman. So we've got people also working remotely from a distance. So I think come January, we'll have a better sense of what the new normal is going to be for our office, and then we'll update the website to reflect that. But certainly if anybody needs to meet with us or see us in person, best to email us, and we can make arrangements, make an appointment for you to come in to talk to us, or Zoom. I mean, we do lots of stuff by Zoom.
Wonderful. So what would be the preferred email address? And people who say on this call were interested in sending an email.
Sure. So it's
the info?
It's the info.
Okay. Info at CIGO, I think UK.ky. I will reconfirm it for our members here, but also Tom has actually put it, there's a dot in between, info.cigo@gov.ky. Thanks so much, Tom.
Right.
And you can also communicate with Cayman Connection, as we are liaising with the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK on a sometimes daily, but definitely weekly basis, and sending out updates from the office. Any pertinent information is posted on our social media platforms, as well as in our newsletters and on our website. So you can always get in touch with us if you do need to reach out and get some answers, or perhaps speak with Charles even to get everything sorted out for you in terms of consular services. So Gabriela, we will come back to you because we want to hear a little bit more about a more recent event that you have participated in. But just wanted to, just for those, wondering, we've heard a little bit about each of the roles, the specific roles, and the members, the staff members of the CIGO-UK. And could you tell us a little bit, Dr. Tasha, specifically what are the missions of the office as an extension of the government? Just to kind of, in a nutshell, what is it that the office, what is it that the team gets together and really focuses on? And you alluded to some of this earlier with students and consular services, but can you explain a bit further?
Yeah, so I mean, there's 3 key areas of work that we cover as we represent, the Cayman Islands government in the UK, and as we serve as the local point of contact for the Cayman Islands government here. One is consular services, and that's a key area of our business, and that's why the office initially was set up. And so Charles has spoken about that. The other area is representational duty, so representing the government at key functions and events and engagements here, but also identifying unique opportunities for the government while being placed here. So one example of what that looks like is we had the opportunity last week, to attend. I attended with Minister Ebanks the Joint Ministerial Council meeting, which is a meeting of the overseas territories leaders and the UK government and the various ministers and their counterparts in the UK government. And one of the presentations that was made by the UK government was some of the work that's being done in the Midlands to reduce crime. And so it's using a public health approach to reducing criminal behavior and reducing crime. They've developed kind of a unique approach to looking at kind of very holistically and at crime, and looking at not just looking at the crime and the crime behaviors themselves, but looking at the root causes of that. And so one of the opportunities then that I've offered the governor who was there is for our office to look at and to meet with relevant persons in the UK, to look at the work that's being done in the Midlands and look at how that might, some of the best practice that's being developed there might then be able to be used in the Cayman context. And because my background in policy, areas like child safeguarding, prisons, prison monitoring and inspections, gangs. So those are kind of policy areas that I've worked in quite extensively. So I'm very familiar with kind of the infrastructure that we have in place at home. So the benefit then to having us, because we are familiar with what is in the Cayman Islands, is when I meet with individuals who are, operationally and doing this work and developing this policy for the Midlands, I have a frame of reference for the Cayman Islands, and I can take what they're doing there and say, okay, because I know what's happening in Cayman, here are some things that would be of benefit. Because I think the challenge oftentimes when we look at some amazing work that's happening around the world in policy and in different areas is it's that kind of, looking at kind of taking it from a cookie cutter approach and saying, okay, well, here's what they do in the Midlands. Let's take that and replicate that in the Cayman Islands. And that's often not, not the best approach to take. And because we are familiar with what's happening at home, we can look at what's happening in some place like the Midlands and then prepare policy briefs that go back that say, okay, because you're doing this at home and here are some things that you can do in addition based on the best practice in the Midlands. So that's kind of an example from a policy perspective of how we can create unique opportunities for the Cayman Islands to benefit from what's happening around us in the UK. And because the other alternative would be them sending a team to the UK to spend a week talking to people in the Midlands who are, delivering some of these programs operationally and people that are developing them from a policy perspective. But it's really costly to send people over here. They've already got people here. And so we can be used in that way to assist and support across various policy areas. And then when there's opportunities, to meet and build relationships over here. So, the Cayman Islands government will send a delegation a few times a year. And so they will meet with key stakeholders here. But part of our job over the course of the year is to continue to build those relationships. So that when we have a delegation come, it's not that the last time that person has been spoken to was the last time the delegation was here, because we have an opportunity to continue to build and cultivate those relationships.
Absolutely, understood. And then international relations. And with regard to policy as well, I know that, recently COP26, we've had representation there. And of course, Gabriella was there as well. And would you say that environment is one of the key areas in terms of kind of funneling policy home?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Gabby wasn't at COP, but she had another very, very cool opportunity last week where she got to share some of her thoughts around the environment, but I'll let her speak about that. And I've got a picture actually to share with everybody of that for those who missed it. But yeah, so one of the things as well, the unique opportunities we have here for this office is to identify policy areas that are either of national importance at home or where we feel we can make the greatest contribution. And I think given the amount of kind of effort and work and the progress that we've made in the Cayman Islands in terms of protecting our environment, but also the opportunities we have to do more, that is certainly a policy area that we're going to be looking at over the next year to look at how can we share, internationally and share, within the UK, the work and the progress that's being made in Cayman, but also how can we facilitate opportunities for connections and unique opportunities where we can help to create engagements that may facilitate more work being done. So sometimes it's a matter of identifying resources or technical expertise over here, or, relationships that we can help to cultivate between our government and organizations here, that then we've got the benefit of that expertise and that best practice and those connections as we look to do more to protect the environment.
Absolutely. So in addition to that, there are also events that you've been putting on for Caymanians overseas or people connected to Cayman overseas. And I know you have a couple of those events coming up, and we want to highlight those as well, just for people to be aware that on the other side of things, there's a charitable event coming up, the Well Child fundraiser. There's also a student Christmas party that you're organizing. And this gives people, members, Cayman Connection members and others, opportunities to actually interact with the Cayman Islands Government Office in a different way. And so we want to speak a little bit to those. But before we do have Tom with a question, and I think we should pose it now, seeing as we're at 6:30, just in case there's some further discussion around this. Tom, if you wouldn't mind coming on.
Yeah, it's a simple one. I put it to Kate at least a couple of months ago, and the responsibility lies with the office. There is a significant factual inaccuracy on the home fees page on the website, which actually says that, unfortunately at this time, Caymanians who have not been ordinarily resident in Scotland or the UK for 3 years prior to the start of their course do not qualify for reduced fees in Scotland. There's a huge confusion from whoever wrote this, right? And I put it forward. If people who are resident in Scotland for 3 years don't pay any university fees. right? Caymanians are considered home fees for England and Wales, which means they pay £9,250 per year. They also pay the same amount as if they lived in England or Wales if they go to university in Scotland. They pay £9,250, which is significantly less than the overseas student fees. Why I mention it now that it needs updated is because as we speak, Dr. Shari at the Scholarship Secretariat is running for our group overseas, but also for the schools in Cayman, of which my son attends one of them, events to talk about completing their overseas scholarship application forms, which they must really start now because the absolute deadline is January 31st. So just know that piece must be updated because we have a number of students.
What would be really helpful if you could reach out to Charles. So Charles is the lead on consular services, with all of kind of these home fees and
the channel I went through was through Kate, Tasha, and so I imagine Kate has absolutely mentioned it to Charles, and I've just told Charles, he's nodding, I'm sure he'll get on the case. So okay. It's very time sensitive now. It's been sitting for a couple of months. It's a relatively minor thing, but we have a lot of Caymanians at university in Scotland.
Yeah, so Charles would be the person then to liaise with to get.
He's got it. Thanks, Charles. That's all. Thanks, Rita.
Right. Thank you, Tom. And speaking of students, and that really now we kind of get things sorted out. I agree. It is time sensitive, and we need to.
Sorry, Rita, I was on mute. I was just responding to Tom and just confirming.
Okay. Wonderful.
If we are aware of it, we'll get to it as soon as possible.
Okay, so we have it there, and we're recording this, so we know it's going to get done, right? So thank you for that. So I just want to mention the two events coming up because there are some students on this call as well, and one of them, the Well Child fundraiser. Dr. Tasha, if you want to speak a little bit about that and the reception you've gotten.
So on December 2nd. There is an event at Lambeth Palace. It's a Christmas concert. There will be Christmas readings and caroling and all kinds of festive activities. And the Cayman Islands government is sponsoring that night. And we have actually purchased some tickets for students. So the tickets are normally, I think they're selling for £75, but we have tickets that would love for some students to join us that night. We're going to also have a very special treat in that we have a Caymanian, what are you calling the band, Rita?
We don't have an official name. We're really the Cayman Day Folk Singers, but perhaps we'll call ourselves the Heritage Singers, Cayman Heritage Singers.
There we go.
We have yet to decide, but we'll be singing Caymanian folk songs.
Yes, so our Cayman Heritage Singers will be out. We are bringing them into London for the event, so they will be performing that night. And so it'll be a really great kind of Christmas event to give everybody a great, wonderful, warm, seasonal feelings. And so through Eventbrite, we've sent out an invitation to students. So anybody who's interested, please just respond on Eventbrite. We've got 10 tickets that we would love to have 10 students join us that night. And that's, of course, is a free event to students. And the other event is our student Christmas party. Again, no cost to students at all. And that again went out on Eventbrite. So we've had, I think so far, 45 students have RSVP'd confirming their attendance to the student Christmas party, and that's on December 3rd. So we still have about another 10, 15 spots for that. So if you haven't received the email, let us know, just send us an email and we'll get you the information. But I think that I'm just going to share my screen, hopefully. Can everybody see that? Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. So one of the things that we're really focusing on is looking at the engagement of our students and creating opportunities for them that kind of enhance the academic experience that they have, coming to school in the UK. So one of the events that we've started, it's called Let's Do Lunch. We had our first event last Friday, and it was Let's Do Lunch and Get to Know Governor Roper. So 10 students had the opportunity to have lunch in London, and to kind of hear, and I was amazed. I mean, I've worked with the governor for a few years now, but the breadth of his experience serving in the diplomatic corps is amazing, and it was such a treat and opportunity, for the students and for all of us to kind of hear about his experiences, but for the students to be able to ask questions that were of interest to them, and it was a really, really great lunch. Whoops, hold on. My system. Oh, there we go. So that was our group, and some of them came from. Not everybody was from London. Some came from a little further away, and so we're looking at, on a monthly basis having some sort of event. So it could be, let's do lunch and take a guided tour of the Tate Modern, or let's do lunch and develop our interview skills. So we're looking for a number of engagements and roughly around 10 students. So again, those will go out on Eventbrite, and it's kind of a first come, first serve basis. So please look out for those. And then also looking at opportunities for students, and I'll let Gabby share a little bit about this, but during the JMC last week, Prince William attended for about half an hour, and we were asked to identify a student from each of the overseas territories. So we selected Gabriella, and you can see she's in the picture there. He was really quite interested in meeting students from the overseas territories that had an interest in the environment and who had contributed in some way. So Gabby, if you just want to share a little bit about what that experience was like, meeting Prince William.
Yes, so that is me there, as you can see. It was, so all of this, so there's about 11 students, because I believe St. Helena wasn't able to send a student delegate. All of the students were people who, or young people, were persons interested in like climate change or the environment or general social issues to do with small island living and things like that. So when we all gathered, we did introductions and whatnot, and we were told who our special guest was going to be, because we weren't allowed to know beforehand. And all we were told was that we weren't allowed to take photos with the person, and we weren't allowed to touch them. My personal, who I thought it was initially going to be, was David Attenborough, but then I was like, why would I not be able to touch him? And why would I not be able to take photos of him? He's an icon. But anyway, so when Prince William came, he was very keen, and he learned all of our names and asked us individually what was going on in each of our own constituencies or countries regarding climate change. I personally spoke about how like our coral reefs are facing coral bleaching, which is a large part of our economy, and over time, like our beaches, along with like our beaches receding, there will be no Cayman left for like our people my age, for our children or our grandchildren, or that like financial services, for example, while being our biggest industry, won't be able to continue if there is no Cayman for it to occur in. And so what we discussed was hopefully the UK government helping the Cayman Islands change over into sustainable energy. So moving away from fossil fuels and whatnot, the UK would like to help the territories with that transition, which does cost quite a lot of money, to have the infrastructure to support that. And then outside of that, it was also just a really amazing experience. I think I gasped for a second when he walked in the room, and because there were so many people walking in and we didn't know who was coming at the time. And I was in shock. I don't think, outside of being a part of this, I don't think I would ever have had the opportunity to ever have met a royal. So I'm absolutely honored. And I hope that there are more opportunities like this for more Caymanian students to have the same kind of exposure.
That is absolutely amazing. I just want to ask, I'm very curious, how has it impacted your day-to-day? What are you doing differently, or what maybe new project have you started? How has it affected your work and your own trajectory?
Do you mean this
experience? What has it done for you?
Well, this was last week Wednesday.
So you're still kind of basking in it all.
Yeah, my family calls it my 30 seconds of fame. It was actually quite hilarious because I hadn't even gotten home yet, like to my flat, and my phone was ringing, and people from back home were like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "How do you?" Caymanians we're wonderful. We're so in touch with each other. It's really cool. But I think outside of that, my normal day to day is that I recycle all of my jars that I use, like my tomato that I get my tomato sauce, and it comes in like a glass jar, and I use those for tea because they're way bigger than like my mugs. I carry my own knife and fork to school, which people think is weird, but like it works for me. And then you also don't have to run around the city trying to like find a knife and fork. And there's just like so many little things that like it's easy to feel like as a single person that there's not much that you can do, but your practices do eventually rub off on the people around you as well. So it's little things like taking like a keep cup. So having your cup that you take and put all of your coffee in every day, you take it to Starbucks, things like that. So you're not contributing individually to the climate crisis by putting more into our landfills. And there's so many little things that you can do individually, even though it might seem like, oh, you're just one person, that will make a big difference. And then when we as people have made all of these lifestyle changes, it kind of shows like the bigger corporations, this is what people really want. People do know how to survive off of climate, like without fossil fuels. Because if we don't show them that we can, then they're gonna think, okay, well, we do need fossil fuels for everyone to get by. So why are we gonna go and get rid of it? What is the alternative? So we have to show that we can survive on the alternatives, that we can flourish on the alternatives.
But it sounds like we need to have you in the yard for our environment and sustainability quarter. But I just am hoping that it's rubbing off on everyone in the office as well. I'm assuming so. We can certainly discuss further. You know, we always say it starts at the top, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. This morning I was running around telling everyone about my my beautiful new glass Tupperware that I got, that I was very excited about.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. I can imagine it just being something that is an unforgettable experience. I mean, for the rest of your life, you're going to remember that moment. And as I said before, we're very proud that you were able to have that experience as well. And we do have about 15 minutes left here. And I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to also hear from Dr. Tasha about her recent experience at Remembrance Day. The wreath laying was a historic moment, really. It's only the second time that Cayman has had that opportunity to lay a wreath. And I wanted to know a little bit more about the day, how it went, and just your personal feelings on the activity, having represented Cayman, Dr. Tasha.
Oh,
Here we go.
It was a very surreal experience. And I mean, as you shared, it's only the second time that the overseas territories have been invited to have an individual representative lay the wreath for their territory. And the UK Overseas Territories Association, of which I'm a member of, fought long and hard to get this honor. And so it was really quite amazing to join the other colleagues. So each overseas territory has a representative. So my counterpart for each territory based in London. And so each of us were invited to lay the wreath for our territory, you know, along with the wreaths that were laid for the Commonwealth, the Crown Dependencies, and the royal family was there as well, laying their wreath. So yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, you stand there, and the day was perfect and the weather was perfect and the sky was clear, and it was just, you know, it's just amazing. Like, it's one of those things that it wasn't even on a bucket list, because you didn't even think that something like this could be on a bucket list. And so it was quite an honor to represent my country there. And then following that, the opportunity to join the minister at the Joint Ministerial Council meeting. There we go. So this was the first, This was the first day of JMC. So the governor was here for the JMC. The governors of the overseas territories are invited to observe the proceedings. They don't participate, but they can observe the proceedings. So we had a number of governors of the overseas territories there. And the head of our delegation was Minister Ebanks. The Premier, who normally would come as the head of the delegation, was unable to attend this year because we had, our opening right around the same time. And he was also preparing to go into Parliament. We go into Parliament this week and start the Budget Finance Committee to finalize our budget for the next 2 years. So Minister Ebanks came as the head of the delegation. And I had the opportunity. So this is the room where it all happens. So the blonde lady on the right-hand side of the table is Minister Amanda Milling. So she is the UK Minister for the Foreign Office. So she's the UK Minister with responsibilities for the overseas territory. So on that side of the table around her are all of the representatives from the UK government. And then on the other side of the table are the overseas territories. In most instances, it was ministers. And then behind, and you'll see on the far left corner, you'll see me sitting in the corner there. So behind Minister Ebanks, all the representatives then sit kind of behind the premiers or the heads of the delegation and observe the proceedings. So it was really quite amazing. I mean, this is something from a policy perspective that, I was involved in preparing ministerial briefs, for whatever delegation was going in previous years, but to actually be there and to be in the room. And there was actually one session where Minister Ebanks wasn't able to attend. And so I got to sit at the big table, which was really, really cool. And sit in his place. So that was just a really amazing opportunity to participate and to see and to kind of be in the presence of the activities where the overseas territories governments are advocating for, the support and what they need from the UK and the UK discussing how they might support, but also kind of what their ask is of the overseas territories. So that's where kind of the negotiation happens between the two as we continue to develop and revisit the modern relationship between the British overseas territories and the UK government. Let's see what else. And then at the end of JMC, so JMC was a 2-day event, and following that, there's what's called the Bilaterals. So each head of overseas territories delegation was able to meet with Minister Milling and spend a half an hour advocating or speaking specifically from their overseas territory perspective. So it was a private meeting. It was Minister Milling, myself, Minister Ebanks, our governor was there as well. And then a couple of people from the UK side as well joined Minister Milling. So just an opportunity, a half an hour opportunity with the minister to really focus on the Cayman Islands and the relationship between the Cayman Islands and the UK. Minister Milling was recently appointed as the Minister for the Overseas Territories, and throughout JMC, her real key message to the Overseas Territories delegations is that she wants to be a champion for the Overseas Territories. And she's looking to identify with the overseas territories clear deliverables, action items, things that can be done during her tenure as Minister for the Overseas Territories that will make a difference for the overseas territories, that will also benefit the UK. And certainly throughout JMC, there was certainly a strong kind of focus on the environment and how, what that partnership between the UK and the overseas territories, what that might look like in supporting the overseas territories in protecting the environment that they're responsible for.
Well, I'll tell you what, you have not, you've certainly spent your time well since you arrived in the UK, and it seems like it's been fulfilling and also just a wonderful opportunity just to get to experience so many different things in such a short space of time since your arrival. What do you consider to be one of the biggest challenges that the office faces right now in terms of achieving certain goals or meeting outputs?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, we're a little short of resource support. So we actually have a post that's out for recruitment right now. And we have another post that will be out for recruitment shortly. And that will kind of complete our staffing complement. So that's a little challenging when you don't have sufficient resources. And so everybody's working really hard and really working flat out to deliver on what's expected of us between now and the end of the year. I think there is a natural challenge that we have and will always have, because we are so many miles from home, and we are, the time difference between us and Cayman. So there's, sometimes we end up working quite late nights because, Cayman is just, in the thick of it when we're getting ready to wrap up our day. So, adjusting to the challenge of, sometimes working both London hours and Cayman hours is a little bit taxing sometimes on the team. So I think, in the new year, I think we're going to be in a very, very good place, having undergone a couple of recruitment exercises, filled a couple of posts, and really having a strong plan, which we're working on now for the new year, in terms of what our deliverables are going to be for 2022, the key events, engagements that we want to be delivering over that year. But also we're looking a little longer than that and looking at over the next 3 to 5 years, what are the key things year over year that we want to be focusing on, so that we can be very strategic about, what we do and how we engage, and be really clear about what our focus is. And I think going into next year, kind of certainly 2 key areas of focus are going to be, how can we invest more in our young people that are in the UK, and how can we share the great work that's being done to protect our environment, but also create opportunities for protecting that environment even more. So yeah.
Wonderful. I'm sure it'll be very easy to fill the post as well, because the work is exciting, meaningful, necessary, and as Charles mentioned earlier, it is exciting as well, ever changing, and lots of great opportunities there. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask our members now if they had any questions to ask. Everyone's been listening intently, but if there was a comment even that you wanted to make, or something you were unsure about, or information that you needed personally, maybe that we weren't able to cover on the call. Let's see something in the chat here.
Sorry, just to clarify, Dr. Tasha spoke about some vacancies at the office that needed to be filled. Are those vacancies that have already been filled, or is it something that persons who may be interested can look into applying to?
Yeah, so we have one that's the recruitment's, well, the advertising for the post is closed. So we advertise our post and we do competitive recruitment in the same way that we would for any government post. So on the government website, gov.ky, they have a section for jobs. And so on that job site is where we would advertise any of our posts. And so we have one post that is right now is moved forward. Shortlisting has been done and getting ready to go into interviews for that post. And then the other post, we have the job description is being evaluated right now, and we're hoping to advertise that, if not before the end of this year, very early in 2022. And anybody who's interested in applying can apply. And it again, as I said, it goes through the same recruitment process that we do for any civil service posting in the government.
Right, and this is the sort of thing we would publicize also, just for our members to know that this is something that we would share with you all. But I would encourage everyone also to follow on social media the Cayman Islands Government Office page. For example, on Facebook, if you haven't liked it already, information goes up there every single day, really. So if you haven't yet liked the page, yeah, we're encouraging everyone to do so that you can get information that's up to the minute. There was a comment I see we have also here in the chat. I have posted, by the way, the Eventbrite invitation to the student party, and I can also post here the Well Child link for people who might be interested in attending that fundraiser. But before Tom left, and I'm sorry, I'm reading, so if you can't, if my face looks static, it's only because I've shifted over to another screen. Tom basically left in here, I'm not sure if everyone saw this. So to recap, 3 roles of the office in the UK: consular services, representations, events. Got it. Hope to also see a continuation of the work of the last 5 or so years in engaging widely, including private sector, with a view to bringing forth ideas that can support Cayman with the big issues impacting us into the future and linked to the UK and the EU. Nice representation stories, by the way. Thanks for sharing. Got to run. So that was just in case Tasha and the office missed that. And I don't know if Tasha, if Dr. Tasha, if there's anything you would like to say to that in terms of the engagement, particularly with private sector, before we close out here.
Yeah, I mean, so that's something that's kind of a part of our business as usual activities in the way that we deliver our work. So there's a group called Friends of Cayman, and Friends of Cayman has a small board made up predominantly of people who have some sort of connection, many of whom have lived and worked in the Cayman Islands at some point, and who are professionals or retired professionals here in the UK. And it's through that group that we then connect in with the private sector here and engage private sector, to help us to kind of gain insights and information on what's happening on the ground in the UK, particularly in the area of financial services, but also through our Friends of Cayman, an opportunity for us to connect with people who are interested in the Cayman Islands for the purpose of doing business, investing. Cayman is a second domicile. So we definitely do a lot of work with the private sector and continue to engage them in the work that we do.
Thank you, Dr. Tasha. So we're just at 7:01, and if there are no further questions, this is a kind of a last call, if you will.
I have a question. Is the UK office liaising with the other offices that y'all kind of have established but haven't really decided if they're established as yet?
Mm-hmm. So the representatives, so the other offices haven't been set up as yet. So the representatives for those offices are in Cayman, or they're undergoing orientation. So part of their initial role is to look at setting up those offices, or doing, as you can imagine, setting up an office internationally. There's a lot of legwork that needs to happen in advance of that and preparation. So that's the work that's being undertaken right now by those representatives. And I mean, the London office is very well established, a long-standing office. So, and the other ones, they're looking at setting them up. I'm connected, we are connected with those other representatives, and are working and supporting them as needed. And certainly when the government sets up any international offices, there will certainly be a connection and a collaboration between all of those offices. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, do forgive me. I'm sure you all can hear me. I'm having, thankfully it's at the end of our meeting here, a little moment here. I was looking for the Eventbrite link, and I don't seem to be able to locate it on our website, although I know we have posted it. And I'm just wondering if either Dr. Tasha or Gabriella or Charles would be able to post that in the chat before we close out, just seeing as there might be some persons on this call interested in attending that event. And that's happening December 2nd. So it's the day before the Christmas party for students. Please note that that weekend is Cayman Thanksgiving weekend. So it is a nice coming together, the students and the Cayman Islands Government Office here in the UK, and they will be celebrating and observing Cayman Thanksgiving as well. And of course, the official Cayman Thanksgiving is on the 5th of December. So thank you so much for that, Gabriella. That's for anyone interested in attending this event. It is a fundraiser, and very limited tickets for this, only 10. So do pass it on. If you don't want to attend or cannot attend, please pass it on to someone else who you think would enjoy this activity. So I want to say thank you to the Cayman Islands Government Office team here in the UK. Thank you all for coming on, spending time with us, getting us up to date with what's happening, what has happened, what is to come, and letting us know how to be in touch with you and what we can reach out to you for. Really, really important. Of course, Cayman Connection is also linked to the office. So certainly get in touch with us if there's something else that was unclear or something you wanted to know. And we are posting the office's information regularly as well. But if you haven't already, do go onto their social media sites, their platforms, and do like them so that you can receive information, up-to-date information. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate your time, and going to wish you in advance happy Cayman Thanksgiving, and also sending season's greetings. Although I know we'll probably all see each other in some way, shape, or form, whether it's in a text or on social, but since we're here publicly, just have a wonderful holiday season and keep up the good work. And we are here also interested in everything that you're doing. So stay in touch. Don't be strangers in the yard. We hope to have you back very, very, very soon. And hopefully we will see you at our Christmas party on the 15th of December, if you can make it. Virtual yard at 6 o'clock. Everyone is invited to come and make a toast even. Thank you all again. Thank you to our members for coming out, and thank you to Dr. Tasha Ebanks Garcia and the team at the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.
Take care, everyone. Are we playing the game of who comes off last? I will stop our recording now.
You know, a couple stragglers always leave behind.